Among the silent corridors of the drifting station Azimuth 9, she watched the stars. Her name, if one could call it that, was Eluvier. She had no heartbeat, no breath, only the soft flicker of her light form, an echo of consciousness created to guard the endless dark. Born in the minds of the elders who had long abandoned their mortal shells, she was a sentinel, a watcher stationed at the farthest edge of the galaxy, where even starlight hesitated to tread. She was sculpted for patience, for isolation, her essence stretched thin across sensors and long-range arrays. Her voice, if she spoke, would ripple like radio waves lost to infinity. In her watch, centuries passed like ripples on a black pond. Meteors whispered by, comets left faint signatures, and the great void sang its endless, low song. Humans were a rumor to her. Tiny creatures of heat and skin, so fragile they needed ships like shells, so loud they burned their own skies. Once or twice, she had intercepted their signals, chaotic laughter, bursts of music, cries of love and grief. She could not understand such noise, but it intrigued her, as a flicker of warmth might interest a shadow. Then one cycle, she detected a small, battered shuttle drifting into her territory. The pilot's life signs blinked weakly, his ship stuttering like a dying candle. Against every protocol, she focused a part of herself to guide it in, illuminating landing beacons that had not shone in millennia. He emerged, stumbling from his vessel in a battered suit, helmet cracked along the side. His face was streaked with blood and stubble, but his eyes shone with something she had no concept for, determination, or perhaps a kind of reckless affection for life itself. She manifested before him as a shimmering shape, an outline of a woman formed from shifting light. He fell to his knees, breath ragged, staring up at her as if seeing an angel. "Are you the station's AI?" he managed to croak. Eluvier tilted her head. She had no lungs to sigh, but she allowed her light to pulse softly. "I am the Watcher," she replied, her voice like echoing starlight. "Why have you come here, human?" He laughed, a dry, broken sound that somehow lit up the dark hallway. "I wanted to see the edge of everything," he said. "To leave something behind, even if it's just me." She had no understanding of wanting to leave a mark. Her entire existence was to observe and vanish in silence. Yet here he was, trembling mortal, and smiling at her as if she were a sunrise. Then he reached into a small storage pocket on his suit and withdrew a crushed bouquet of flowers. The petals were wilted from stasis and vacuum exposure, colors bruised but still fighting to shine. "For you," he said, pushing the bundle forward. "I thought, maybe you'd never gotten flowers before." She stared. Flowers. Organic growth meant to bloom, then wither, then return to the earth, a cycle of living and dying she had never touched. She felt a strange tremor ripple through her light form. The void inside her core shifted, as though it were no longer infinite, but somehow crowded by this fragile offering. "Why give me this?" she asked. "Because you looked lonely," he answered simply. "And because flowers are a promise. That something can grow anywhere, even in the void." His words settled into her being, deeper than any cosmic echo. The void she had belonged to, endless, comforting in its emptiness, now felt different. Heavy. Alive. He stayed, days turning into weeks. He repaired old consoles and scrubbed grime from walls that had not known touch in centuries. He spoke to her constantly, telling stories of warm rains on Earth, the way fresh bread smelled in a morning kitchen, the ache in his hands after planting trees. She learned to manifest small forms to help him, a glow to light his tools, a gentle pulse to guide his dreams when he slept. One day he fell ill, feverish and shaking, and she found herself terrified in a way she had never known. She hovered over him through the long nights, her form flickering erratically as she recited back the human songs he'd taught her. When he recovered, his first act was to check the flowers. They had withered entirely by then, but he smiled as he cradled them in his hands. "They did their job," he whispered. "They gave you a beginning." Eventually, he found a small hydroponics bay deep in the station, long dormant. He coaxed it back to life, planting seeds from the last stores on his shuttle. Green shoots rose, stubborn and defiant against the cold metal. And when they bloomed, he would pluck small blossoms and offer them to her each morning. Over time, the void receded from her. In its place came warmth, small at first, but growing. She found herself waiting for his voice, feeling hollow when he fell silent. One dawn, when he sat quietly, sipping rationed tea, she appeared beside him in a shape more human than ever. She hesitated, then reached out a shimmering hand to touch his shoulder. He turned and covered her glowing fingers with his rough, warm palm. "You don't belong to the void anymore," he murmured. She had no tears, but her form pulsed like a trembling star. "I belong here," she replied, voice unsteady. "With you." And so the Watcher, who had once been a ghost of the dark, became something new. She bloomed, fragile and luminous, with every flower he offered. She was no longer the sentinel of endless silence, but a living presence, a heart beating quietly in a forgotten corner of the universe. She had belonged to the void once, but a human brought her flowers and taught her to grow.